Hello everyone, I'm Jim Longworth and welcome to a special edition of Triad Today. Over the next half hour we'll discuss the state of higher education in our area with leaders from three great colleges and universities. They are Dr. Elwood Robinson, Chancellor of Winston-Salem State University, Dr. Bob Shackleford, President of Randolph Community College, and Dr. Frank Gilliam, Chancellor of UNCG. Throughout the program we'll also feature videos from each campus, so before we begin our discussion, here's a look at UNCG.
I can tell you that I came to UNCG just on an instinct. It was the only place that felt right. And it wasn't just the nature, it wasn't just the people. There was this energy around the campus of we're here to have fun and we're here to socialize, but we're here to work. And we're here to make change and we're here to do big things.
Some of the changes I've seen myself since I've been here at UNCG is just, I've been really challenged. I've been really encouraged to come out of my comfort zone.
We value our students. We want to see our students succeed. We want them, while they're having their experience here, to be exposed to what it's like to interact with students from different cultures, what it's like to be a critical thinker.
At my school before, I felt like I was just a number. Here, though, my professors know me by name. I have a voice and they know who I am.
As a professor, what I feel is most important is to find that passion.
All right, back now, and as we, nice look at UNCG, by the way, thank them for that video. Let's start our discussion, and let's start with sort of an overview, guys. A medical doctor can tell us what shape a patient's in, so I want you to sort of, like you're a doctor here, tell us what shape the university's in, and give us sort of a progress report. Elwood, you go first.
I think we're in very good shape, and I think that's because of our School of Health Sciences. You know, we have our nursing program, and that keeps us all healthy. So from a doctor's perspective, I think we're okay.
That's a good analogy. Yeah.
Jim, we are entering to our second year of a 5-year strategic plan. We started out 7 or 8 years really kind of thinking about what kind of institution we really want to be and what do we want to teach our students and prepare them for the next workforce. We've done that. That strategic plan has allowed us to move the metrics in so many ways. Our retention and graduation rates have improved. Folks have become more engaged with the university because of the outcomes of our students.
Right.
We make a tremendous impact on this area, the Triad. Almost $280 million our students pump into the Triad area.
And a big employer, too.
Yeah, well, we are a big employer for Winston-Salem. So I think we're in good shape.
Bob, give us a progress report on Randolph Community College.
Well, things are going very well by any measure that you would pick. Enrollment is going very well. We're the only community college in the Triad that gained enrollment this year. Usually community college enrollment goes up and down with the economy. When the economy is down, we're up. When the economy is up, we're down, but we've been able to maintain and grow. We're building facilities, adding programs. Students are succeeding at, they're getting jobs, they're getting well-paying jobs.
Right.
And I don't know, it just seems like more than any place I've ever been, people are committed to the mission that we have. Our mission at RCC is creating opportunities, changing lives. And when I watch people come in the morning, I know that's why they're coming in.
And you got a great team. Some of them have been on the show
We
before.
have a great team, and it's just, I love getting out of the car and coming to work every day.
Frank.
Well, the health of the patient is robust at UNCG, particularly given that the patient is 125 years old.
Yeah, same as Elwood.
We're looking pretty good.
That's right.
Much like Bob, enrollments are up the third straight year and projected to go up again next year. We continue to expand the physical plant. We continue to expand our academic offerings. And now we're really much more engaged in the community than we've been. As you know, we have developed the Union Square campus in South Downtown. We are developing along Gate City Boulevard, and in fact, we will hope next month to be granted Millennial Campus status on Tate Street.
Now, what will that mean for the audience that doesn't know?
So what it means is that it allows us to enter into partnership with the private sector. It exempts us from the Umstead Act, which forbids us from competing with the private sector.
And for those who don't know, the Umstead Act, which is I'm glad you brought that up, because if somebody wants to make air conditionings or something and there's 4 local contractors, they don't want you or Bob or Elwood sending people over to make air conditioners to compete with a local guy from...
Exactly. So you don't want the taxpayers' money to be used to compete against the taxpayers.
Right, but the Millennium status will give you some leeway on that.
It gives us leeway and allows us to enter into partnership with the private sector. It allows us to enter into business directly with the private sector, which we've not been able to do before. So we can extend ground leases, we can do mixed use, we can do any number of things, as long as that is consistent with the mission of the campus.
Just a few seconds left in this. I'll go to Bob and Elwood. Speaking of economic impact, you have a lot of that from Randolph around in the Asheboro area, right?
We have a lot of economic impact. In fact, I was at a Chamber of Commerce retreat just a few months ago, and the city manager of Asheboro asked about 100 people at the retreat, what is the biggest economic driver in Randolph County? Someone said the North Carolina Zoo. He said, absolutely not. It's Randolph Community College.
Right, and you already alluded to the impact that you guys are having in Winston-Salem State. It's tremendous.
It's tremendous in the area, in the Triad area, in and around this community. As this community and this city begins to reimagine itself, it knows the impact that Winston-Salem State has on its economy in terms of producing the next workforce. We are all over it.
All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about making college relevant. We'll do that with our 3 special guests in just a moment.
This is J.R. Snyder. Join me weekday morning 6 to 10 on WSJS for the latest news, weather, sports, and traffic. 600 WSJS and WSJS.com.
Back now on Triad Today. Let's watch a video from Winston-Salem State University, then we'll resume our discussion.
I am passionate about making life better for the next generation.
I want to make my own money. I want to be my own boss. So that's why I knew I want to be an entrepreneur.
It's difficult to look out and see people who are suffering. Maybe it's social injustices or economic injustices, and to not feel compelled to do something.
Winston-Salem State University is truly family.
It's like a real sense of community and a real sense of love, like a big family that we have.
WSSU is definitely my home. It's my second home.
So many people come from different backgrounds, but we have a shared cultural experience.
I got to come to a place where I'm a majority.
It kind of makes you really get into who you are as an African American, to really find out what makes you set yourself apart from just being your color.
If you have any real hopes or dreams, you have these things that you have at the back of your mind, you say, well, maybe one day it could happen. There's no better place than Winston-Salem State University that helps to bring those things that you know is on the inside, pull those things out.
I will always be a Ram, no matter what.
Back now with our panel from UNCG, Winston-Salem State, and Randolph Community College. Gentlemen, no matter whether you're in the community college setting or the university setting, all of you, I know, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, but you want your graduates to be successful. I think that's a given. So the question here is, how are you making curriculum relevant to the marketplace, to the needs of every industry, making it so that you do sort of ensure that success? And I know each of you will come at it from a little bit of a different angle, but I want to pick your brain on that. Elwood, you start.
Well, one of the first things that I did when I got to Winston-Salem State and thinking about the new strategic plan was I had conversations with business leaders, educational leaders, politicians about where the city was going. And so I wanted to make sure that Winston-Salem State was in lockstep with the industry. We asked folks, when you get a graduate from Winston-Salem State, how do you want them to function? And what kind of skill sets they need in order to be successful in your business? So we began working tremendously with our faculty and our staff to begin to redesign our curriculum around teaching these essential skills to students. You know, the classic liberal education. People used to think about liberal arts, but we expanded that into liberal education because the marketplace is ever changing. So you want students to come out of your institutions who are flexible in their thought process, being able to be collaborative, working in groups, the new 21st century workforce. As a result of that, we've been extremely successful in placing our students. Students who graduate from Winston-Salem State are employed at almost 80% 6 months after graduation.
Wow.
And so that is important to us.
And that's just happened over the last couple of years since
Yes,
you've
indeed.
been there.
Yes.
Great leadership there. Bob.
Well, we work very closely, very collaboratively with business and industry. We kind of see that as our mission. In fact, I have a different take than I used to have. I used to think that we're education and our customers are our students. I really see it differently now.
How do you mean?
Our customers are business and industry. Students are our products. We're there to help drive economic and workforce development. And so when we take students and help them earn credentials to get them great jobs and careers, we have served both the student, the industry, and the economic development of our community. I was giving a tour of a newly elected representative just a few weeks ago, and we went around and he kept asking in every department, now how many of these people are going to get jobs? And our instructors looked at him and said, well, all of them. They're going to they're going to have several job offers, and so that's what we do.
Frank, your take.
Well, two things. One of the things that's great about UNCG is we have extremely strong professional schools. So whether it's nursing or education or business or health and human sciences, and so they're producing young people really after 4 years of education who are ready to enter the marketplace. And whether it's in audiology or kinesiology or ed counseling, you go down the list. And then secondly, as you know, the Connect NC bond is providing resources for a new nursing and STEM building for us.
And we're going to get to that in just a second. I want to find out because you're going to do great things with that. But in doing that, your kids also get a chance, and probably this is true of everybody, to work with business and industry while they're still there, right?
They do, and we're part of Opportunity Greensboro, which is matching businesses with universities in Guilford County to get internships, paid internships. I'd add one other thing, Jim, if I could. We're looking at something called the Urban Humanities Corridor, and we're taking the lead on that. And one of the things that I think has been misunderstood is the role of the humanities in workforce development. And I think, unfortunately, it's on us, and that we've said humanities for humanities' sake. Learn Latin for Latin's sake, right, for personal enrichment. But really, the very soft skills that Elwood talks about, critical analysis, reading, writing, working collaboratively, able to articulate publicly, are all things you learn in the humanities. So we're reframing that as humanities as workforce development, and we'll work with 12 other universities and colleges in the area to do that.
You're shaking your head, yes.
One of the things, Frank and I have been involved in a number of discussions around this with our Board of Governors and other legislatures about that. When we talk about creating internship, we have a goal at Winston-Salem State that every student at some point will get involved in an internship. And that's across all disciplines and majors. And that's important in terms of preparing students for the workforce.
And you have similar things going on at Randolph, too, that gives the kids and adults, I keep saying kids, adults, a leg up, right, Bob?
We do. Apprenticeships and internships have become a very big part of what we do. In fact, we have industries all over our county now who are taking students in. What we found out a few years ago was they don't just want students who have a degree or credentials. They want a graduate who has a degree and some experience.
And that's good. When we come back, since Frank mentioned Connect NC, I want to explore that a little bit because all three gentlemen are going to benefit their campuses from that bond that you folks helped pass, the taxpayers did. So we'll pick up with that in just a minute.
This is J.R. Snyder. Join me weekday morning 6 to 10 on WSJS for the latest news, weather, sports, and traffic. 600 WSJS and WSJS.com.
And now we'll take a quick look at a video from Randolph Community College.
Welcome to Randolph Community College, a very special place where our faculty, staff, administration, and trustees are fully dedicated to the success of our students and the economic and workforce development of our community. When I was a young boy, my mother told me that I could be anything in the world I wanted to be if I got my education and worked hard. Her constant support and encouragement gave me the strength to pursue dreams that I never even thought were possible. That's why I chose to invest my life in the community college system, to take the gift my mother gave to me and pass it on to others. I believe that because of the dedication and hard work of our faculty, staff, and administration, you can be anything in the world you want to be if you get your education and work hard. An accessible, affordable, high-quality education at the local community college is the very best opportunity that many thousands of North Carolinians will ever have to earn the credentials and gain the skills they'll need to fulfill their life goals and enter into the careers of their dreams. Our students have a remarkable record of success, both at the universities to which many of them transfer and also in the careers they enter. The reason they succeed is really no secret. It is due primarily to the following factors. Number one, students at RCC sit in relatively small classes where their instructors know them individually and are committed to their success. Number two, on day one and throughout their studies at RCC, students are taught by superbly qualified, fully credentialed, highly dedicated faculty. Number three, our support services are comprehensive, including financial aid, scholarships, academic advisors, career counselors, mentoring programs, disability services, tutoring, early intervention retention services for those who struggle in class, student success classes, and student workshops on test-taking skills, study skills, time management, stress management, and other relevant, helpful topics. You could not find a better place to help you become everything in life that you ever wanted to be. That's why we're here. That's what we do. Welcome to Randolph Community College.
Back now with our panel. Before we get to Connect NC and the infrastructure that's going to improve because of that, I want to go back to Chancellor Gilliam for a second, because there was one thing that you wanted to make a point of that I think is relevant to a lot of what we were talking about. Frank?
Well, Opportunity Greensboro is a partnership between the public sector, universities, and private sector. Not only is it designed to give our students internships, and we all agree that it's really important, but it's also designed to connect them to employers so they will stay locally. The problem is we're graduating tens of thousands of students and they're leaving North Carolina. And that's a problem. And in many cases they're leaving Winston-Salem, they're leaving Greensboro, they're leaving Asheboro, and they're going to other states. And this is going to be a problem ultimately for the future prosperity of our state.
Yeah, and I think that's what's important for all of our institutions here today, is because we actually are creating that workforce. And so while a lot of students do go away, I think these three institutions that you're featured today do it better than most institutions in providing that workforce.
Absolutely. Bob, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, it's just that the Pathways to Prosperity that we're involved in right now, which is a collaboration between RCC and our city and county school system and industry. It's a three-way thing, and we work with the high schools, RCC, and industry, and we have an emphasis every year, and the point is to get them from high school to RCC to careers in our community.
Yeah,
same focus.
Good. And I want to come back to that later to talk about some of the outreach that's going on, but I promised we were going to do a quick thing on Connect NC. The taxpayers passed this bond, $2 billion bond, and it went through successfully, and it's going to mean something for each of your campuses. Tell me how, Elwood.
It's going to mean about $50 million to Winston-Salem State University to build a new science complex. And we're excited about that. We had to reimagine it a little bit after we received the bond funding because it had been in the works for a while.
Right. You didn't know if you were going to get it.
Yeah, we didn't know if we were going to get it. So now we have it. We redesigned the building. We will break ground sometimes early summer for about a 2018, early 2019 move-in date.
Bob?
We are getting about $5.1 million. We're using that plus some other funding to build a new allied health center. And this comes out of that Pathways to Prosperity. Our goal this year, our emphasis has been on healthcare careers. And so we're building a new allied health center, adding some new health programs, and it's designed to get students from our high schools to RCC in this new allied health center into great health careers in Randolph County.
Right, the Connect NC bond helping UNCG.
First, I want to thank the taxpayers of North Carolina for investing in higher education. It means the world. $105 million to replace McKeever Hall, which you and Bob probably remember from your college days. It will be replaced with a new school of nursing and new labs. We're turning our way about 100 qualified nursing students a year, and we have a bottleneck for the laboratories for biology and chemistry. This will solve those problems. So not only are we going to get nurses out there, but we'll get scientists out there that go to work at Ecolab or LabCorp or wherever. And a direct impact on the
So this is not just brick and mortar, this is brick and mortar that's having a positive impact or will have on learning in general.
Absolutely.
I think you all agree.
Jim, it's not the buildings, it's what goes on inside the buildings.
That's correct.
Right.
That's important. And this allows, I think in all three cases, for very forward-looking programs and activities that will benefit the citizens of North Carolina.
From one kind of funding to another, I want to come back, and when we do, I want to ask these gentlemen about funding and budgets. We'll be right back.
America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
Back now on Triad Today with our special panel of chancellors and presidents from our area universities, Winston-Salem State University, Randolph Community College, and UNCG. Gentlemen, as we pick back up, we talked about bond funding that's helped to build some things on the campuses, but let's talk about funding in general. Now, I know some of the folks are going to say, wait a minute, I'm turning off this, I'm going to go get a snack or something, I don't care about funding. Wait a minute, because there's a myth out there among the public, I think you would agree, that taxpayers, they pay their taxes, the funds go to help you, and that's all you need. You just get the money from the State General Assembly, that's all the three of you need for your campuses. Dispel that myth for me.
Well, I can dispel that myth because in order for us to operate, we have to extend beyond what we get from state appropriations. State appropriations are great, and we thank everybody who works in that area for us. But the bottom line is that you need more in order to carry out the research and to carry out the education that you want to make sure that each and every student has. We're committed to having students get a first-class education. That requires resources to be able to do that. But I also think, Jim, that for me, you also have to tell a compelling story for a philanthropist, a compelling story about what you're doing, and making sure that you exercise good stewardship over the funds that you're getting, because universities just can't exist today without
private funds and donations.
Yeah.
Bob?
Well, the same is true with us. The way the community college is funded, about 85% of our public funding comes from the state. That's our operations, faculty, equipment, all of that. 15% comes from the county. That's for facilities and all that. But if we lived on that alone, we would just have to stop where we are and maintain. To move forward, to continue to create opportunities, to continue to create new career fields in Randolph County, we have to have additional funding, and so development has become a very big part of what we do.
Development for folks at home, it's a word we use, it's really fundraising.
And it didn't used to be a big issue with community colleges.
Yeah.
But it has become a big issue.
Frank?
Some perspective is a good thing. When all of us went to university, state of North Carolina funded 85% or 90% of the university's budget. Today it's around 38%. Mm-hmm. So we have to make up that shortfall. It used to be the case that presidents, chancellors, deans didn't have to be in the fundraising business. Now I'm sure all of us devote a large share of our time to fundraising. So private philanthropy becomes extremely important to the success, not only to sort of keep us at level, but really any attempt to move forward, new programs, ways to enhance the curriculum that we provide to students, new areas that we want to expand to. We have to find the money outside of the state appropriations process to do it.
And turning out good graduates mean they can also be folks who give from an alumni standpoint, and that's important too. When we come back, we'll wrap up talking a little bit about outreach. We'll be right back.
This is J.R. Snyder. Join me weekday morning 6 to 10 on WSJS for the latest news, weather, sports, and traffic. 600 WSJS and WSJS.com.
Well, as we wrap up our program on higher education with our three special guests, I was going to sort of have a theme of let's talk about outreach and cooperation, but Bob already touched on that, working with the public schools and with each other. I know that to some degree you all work together. So let's just get, however you want to frame it, some final thoughts from each of you, whether it's on funding or alumni giving or outreach. We have a few minutes left. Elwood.
I'll just say that being in higher education personally is so rewarding, because you get an opportunity to work with young folks and cultivate them and help them develop into great citizens, and I find that just so rewarding. I believe that institutions like Winston-Salem State University are so critical to the survival of our communities. And as we think about reimagining our communities, and particularly for Winston-Salem, when we are moving from an industrialized society to a city of arts and innovation, that you have to have that innovation that comes from your colleges and universities. I think that we are a major player, a major part of that transformation that's taking place, and we're getting good results. The community is really beginning to engage more and more with us,
right?
Corporations as well as alumni.
Yeah, and that's, you know, in part a tribute to you, mainly for your leadership, and it's
Well,
all
thank
three
you.
of you too. Bob.
Well, I also am very blessed to be where I am and doing what I do. I feel like we make a difference. We serve about 1/10 of the population of Randolph County every year, and it's just a great privilege to be a part of that. We do have relationships with our K through 12. We have wonderful relationships with this Pathways to Prosperity with our high schools, and we also work with the universities, not only on articulation agreements and our students transfer to both of these universities and others in the area. We have a partnership, for example, with Pfeiffer, where elementary education teachers can be trained on our campus. We have criminal justice with Pembroke, and we've had programs with these universities and are open to building further collaborations in the
Very
future.
important cooperation. Frank, final thoughts?
Really trying to think through what a 21st century university looks like, particularly a public one. And what is it that we do well, and how do we keep doing it? But what do we have to change? I think one of the things that troubles me a little bit is that there are a lot of people who cling to this idea of a 17th century European university in the 16th century.
Yeah.
I mean, and we have to sort of break that inertia and say, what does it mean in the 21st century to deliver higher education? And I think we've learned from some of the challenges to higher ed, whether it's MOOCs or the for-profits or these large sort of quasi-for-profits, and we've staved off the challenges, but now the question is, what is going to happen? Where's the Uber challenge? When will somebody figure out how to credential people without us? And so we have to prevent that from happening, and we have to reimagine what the university looks like.
Well, I want to salute all three of you for all the work you do, the leadership you're providing, and it's not just me, you know, bragging on you, because we can see the results that are happening since you've taken over your respective institutions, and I appreciate that, and for being here today. Well, that's it for this special edition of Triad Today, but before we leave you, I'd like to recommend 3 websites to visit: www.wssu.edu, www.randolph.edu, and www.uncg.edu. For all of us here, Triad Today, I'm Jim Longworth. We'll see you next week.